Well, with a new villain revealed in both timelines, Arrow Season 5 is in full gear, but a new twist threatens to change everything. Hey guys, here for Arrow, Season 5, Episode 6, So It Begins, and I was definitely really looking forward to this episode, especially the way the last episode left off, and I know that this episode is a week's behind, guys. I don't know if I'll be able to review tonight's episode tonight. I don't really know. We'll have to see. I don't know why it took me so long to review this episode. I was going to review when I reviewed American Horror Story. Just never got round to it, but whatever. This is a great episode. The season in general continues to really impress me, and this was just such a high-energy episode. Like I said, there's some big stuff that happened here. We got some big reveals. We got some really cool action scenes, and just in general, I'm really loving how simplistic this season really is, because this is a very simplistic season, and I think they're really benefiting from that, and hopefully it stays away. But let's just get into this episode, because there is a lot to talk about, a lot to go down this episode. So we start off, we see Green Arrow and Spartan. They're heading into an abandoned factory to look for Church's cell phone, because to their knowledge, of course, Church is still alive, and Green Arrow remarks to Felicity that's probably a trap by Prometheus, which is why he didn't bring the rest of the team to the mission, mainly because for their safety. He knows how dangerous Prometheus is. He knows what he can do, and he doesn't feel like the team is ready to face them. So when Prometheus isn't trying to trap Green Arrow, he's sending a message, and when Oliver finds Church's phone, an explosion rings out behind him. The floor is covered in flames, spelling out a warning that says, "So it begins," and that was such a badass way to start the episode, just showing us right off the bat that Prometheus is so different than how Church works. He's so secretive, but he means business, and you definitely see that. And him in general, Prometheus is scary. Like, Church, definitely, I got the vibe of menacing and determined. Prometheus scares me. Like, whoever's playing Prometheus, we don't know who it is, obviously, because we don't know who Prometheus is, but they scare me. They really do, and they're doing a very good job with setting up this character. But back in the Arrow Cave, we see Oliver, Diggle, and Felicity. They're trying to figure out what Prometheus's plan is. Oliver also refuses to tell the rest of Team Arrow about Prometheus until he knows what Prometheus wants, which is pretty simple. Again, he really does not want them to deal with Prometheus. He doesn't want them to have more stress on their hands, and basically, he wants to do this on his own for the most part, because he feels that he needs to be the one to face Prometheus, because his team is just not ready to yet, and I get it. I mean, his team is not the best. They're really not. And in a flashback, we see Anatoly teaches Oliver how to make a small bomb. The lesson really doesn't go well, especially where a drive-by shooter sent by Kovar almost kills Oliver and Anatoly, which we get some really cool stuff in terms of the flashbacks. It's probably some of the best flashbacks we've had on the show. And like I said, I'm really just loving the flashbacks so much more this season. I think it's just there's a lot more urgency, and there's a lot more just attention being paid to this. Like, I felt like last season was very half-assed. They didn't really care about the flashbacks. In this season, you can tell they definitely did try to put some effort into it, and just that little bit of effort makes me really like these flashbacks so much more than the last ones. So the next morning, Oliver has an on-camera interview with Susan Williams when Lance walks in late. Even though he made that deal with her, I do like the way that these two are bonding. But as we know, she has intel on him. She has dirt on him. Well, she wants dirt. She wants intel, and you definitely get that sense here. Basically, Lance insisted he wasn't drinking after the admittedly soft interview, obviously because the fact of what Oliver said to Williams, that he told her straight out, look, I'm going to make sure that you don't, judge me, you give me a week, you give me a month, and then you can judge me. She is going along with that plan, at least to his knowledge. To our knowledge, she is in fact trying to incriminate evidence against him, we see, but Thea shows Oliver and Lance plans for an art festival. Oliver tells her to let him know what she needs to make it happen, and Lance also suggests a venue, the Rocket Arena, and says that he knows a guy. And I like the way that these three are really working together. I think it really does echo what's going on with Green Arrow and his team, and I really do like that. But it's a good way of having the original Team Arrow without having the original Team Arrow. They're doing a pretty good job with that. But Prometheus then shows up at a random woman's apartment. This scene was actually something out of a horror movie. Like, this was genuinely very creepy, and the scene was like darkly lit. They played like this really sinister music, and he just kills her via throwing a star to the neck. Like, that was really fucking graphic, and just everything about that was so menacing and so suspenseful. Like, this is a really great villain. This isn't a villain, like, Dark was fun. Dark was fun. I thought Neil McDonough did a good job, but he was kind of ridiculous. He really was. There were points where I think he was a little bit cartoony, but he was fun to watch. This is someone that Arrow really needs. This guy is scary. I don't know who he is, but he's scary. He really is. And the Green Arrow shows up at the crime scene. He asks Chase for details about the victim, and Oliver and Chase can't really find a motive, though. They don't know why Prometheus could have gone after this girl. I'm thinking it was a distraction because it was interrupted by a notification that Prometheus has killed another person. So I'm thinking this was meant to be like a distraction of sorts, but back at the Arrow Cave, Diggle suggests that Felicity use her boyfriend's police connections to grab one of the throwing stars. Although Felicity protests, she still heads in the police station to steal evidence off his desk. Still not really into Felicity's boyfriend, I have to say. I don't think that they're bad necessarily. Between everything else that's going on, that's just the plot that doesn't really interest me right now. But meanwhile, we see Susan's creating problems for Oliver when she breaks the throwing star killer story on the news, causing panic in the city, and obviously gets Oliver kind of upset. He didn't want to deal with any of this, and, if someone knows that there is a throwing star killer, they're immediately going to point the finger at Green Arrow, because who else would be the one who would be, doing all this? Now, I don't know if Prometheus is trying to frame Green Arrow. I don't think that's his plan, because, again, that'd be a repeat of what we got with Ra's al Ghul. And as fascinating as the storyline as that was, we know the route that went, and I really hope that we don't go that direction with this storyline, because I just don't think it's the right direction to go here. I don't think the show needs to do that, and I think frankly, the season of the show is kind of above that, and I think they're trying to abandon that kind of heavy-handed storytelling that kind of has corrupted the last 2 seasons, and this season does not really have. So in a flashback, Oliver and Anne Tully meets with the head of the Broadva, who tells him that Kovar is trying to expand his territory with a casino. He suggests that Oliver pose as a rich American playboy to get inside the casino, which is pretty funny because we know that's what Oliver eventually becomes, and blow it up from inside. So I thought it was a pretty well-executed plan. But Timo responds to a riot at an outdoor shopping mall caused by a report that Prometheus was in the area, and most of the team rescues injured civilians, while Green Arrow, Spartan, and Ragman take care of some panicky gunmen shooting into the shadows. And while the riot continued, Oliver and Diggle tell the rest of the team about Prometheus. They're pretty upset, and I like the fact they had to come clean, because they couldn't hide this for that much longer. Diggle stresses they were just trying to vet the situation. Curtis also helps Felicity with an algorithm to find the connection between Prometheus's victims, because there's a reason why he's targeting these people. He's not just targeting them to target them. There's definitely a reason why, and the motive for why is very interesting. We'll get into that, but overall, I think it was very interesting the way they did that. But meanwhile, Thea takes a long, hard look at a bottle as she tries to contain the situation from City Hall. Felicity then gathers Team Arrow and says she found out how Prometheus is picking his victims, and it is one of the most old hat sort of twists the show could do, but it's a perfect way of paying homage to the first 2 seasons, which I feel that's what the season's really trying to do. It's trying to get us back to old Arrow, and what better way to do that than to introduce one of the oldest plots in the show. His 2 most recent victims' names can be used as anagrams for people that were formerly on the list. Yes, the hit list that Oliver first used when he returned to Starling City, as we know. This was the list that his father gave him, that he never completed, that Oliver is now going after. Prometheus seems to be continuing the list, and we don't know why he's continued this list or what that's really about, but I found that to be very compelling. We see that Oliver explains the history of the list of the new recruits, and it was pretty well done, too, because if you had not seen Arrow, they did a good job of telling you what the list was. For someone who didn't see the first season, because as you guys know, I didn't see the first season. I didn't see the first season of Arrow, but I thought they did a pretty good job of explaining what the list was. Now, most of them are pretty pissed that they're following a former serial killer because, of course, they had no idea of the knowledge of who Oliver used to be. And Oliver tells Felicity to cross-reference the list with Star City's populace to get a lead on Prometheus' next victim. And in a flashback, Oliver almost blows up the casino, like he's really close to blowing it up. He gets knocked out by one of Kovar's men. And Thea then visits Lance's apartment and discovers that Lance had never sobered up in the first place. She insists that Lance go to an AAA meeting. So you can tell that obviously he does need to sober up. I'm going to get a little upset if most of the season is, oh, Lance needs to sober up. Oh, nope, he's not. Oh, no, he needs to sober up. Oh, no, he's not. That is one of the most ridiculous twists they could do. And that was the thing that killed Laurel's character. If you remember that horrible alcoholism arc that Laurel had, I really hope that's not the direction we're going with Lance. I think the actor is so much more capable. Paul Blackthorne, I think his name is. He's just so much more capable of better story, and hopefully this isn't an off-again, on-again thing, because that's what drove me nuts about Laurel's arc, and I really hope that's not the direction we're going with Lance. I don't think it is, but it kind of makes me worried based on the direction this is headed. So the recruits meet at Rory's workshop to vent about Oliver's secret past. Artemis in particular wants no part of Oliver and his constant revelations. And I get it. I mean, the fact that now they know about Oliver's past and now they know that he was a serial killer, they feel that they're following someone that is just not in their best interest and that they don't need him. And in many ways, I think they're right. I mean, they can leave, but I get why they don't really want to be with Oliver. You know, he's keeping a lot of things from them. He hasn't told them about his past, and this is stuff that obviously is greatly affecting protecting the team. And Oliver vents by shooting some tennis balls out, talks to Diggle about the recruits' reactions, and Diggle reminds him that he's moved past that phase, and now Oliver only kills as a last resort. And that was a good way of showing that Oliver has in fact changed. He's not the old Oliver he used to be. He kills when he needs to, but he does kill, and that's something he's going to have to do. So Felicity comes up with a list of 6 names that Prometheus could target, which means that Team Arrow will have to split up to protect them. And Artemis also says that she's not happy with Oliver, but she's going out into the field because she wants to protect people for herself instead of for Oliver. She wants to do what she can to help them. So sure enough, Prometheus goes after one of the targets, a subway train operator assigned to Artemis. Artemis tries to fight Prometheus and even cuts him in the arm, but she's quickly overwhelmed as Prometheus prepares to kill the operator. Oliver, tipped off by Felicity, arrives, scares Prometheus off, and unfortunately Prometheus does damage the train's controls as he escapes. Pretty well done subway scene. I really thought this was cool the way this was done. Oliver straps Artemis himself, the conductor to a parachute arrow, flies off the train right before it crashes, and just some really great stuff there. I really did love the way that scene was done, and I really do love the way they're utilizing the action this season. Like, I think one of the big problems was just the action last season was clusterfuck. It really was. Every single action scene was like 8 people doing a bunch of different things, and it was hard to keep up with everything that's going on. But again, because of the simplicity, it's really adding to how great this season is. You don't need to do all these crazy things to have a good season. All you need to do is have a good story, and that's what this season has. There's a really good story. It has some really great stuff that it's doing, and I think that's something that's really just benefiting the season really well, is that it actually has a genuinely very interesting story that I'm very much compelled with. And we see back at the Arrow Cave, Oliver patches Artemis up, apologizes for keeping secrets from her. He says that he's not the man she thought he was, but he's trying to be, and asks for her patience. And I like this. I like that he's apologizing to her. He actually does feel bad for what's going on. This is what I want to see from Oliver and his team. I want to see them, kind of be assholes to each other, but at the end of the day, respect each other. I like this overall. And I don't think that Artemis is annoying. I know a lot of people said they think the team's annoying, but I think that it makes sense why the team's getting upset with him. There's a lot that he's not telling him, and I like that right now, even though he wants to trust them, there are still some things that he just can't really tell them yet, because they just haven't been there nearly as long as the others have. And then we get this really great scene where Oliver meets Kovar, aka Dolph Lundgren. Can you believe it? Yeah, Dolph Lundgren for the first time, and this guy is intimidating. He kills Oliver's partner the second he's there, but he lets him live for now, and I can't wait to see the relation between Oliver and Kovar. It's very reminiscent of Oliver and Slade, and if that's what we're getting into, and it turns out that Kovar could possibly be Prometheus, that is going to be a very interesting direction. I could very well see that going down. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but if that's really where we're headed with this, I am so interested in seeing where this is going. I think Kovar is probably going to be Prometheus, but if they really are doing that, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Season 2 was so great, is because the way it connected the flashbacks to the main plot, and if they're doing that this year, I will be very impressed with the show. But we then see Felicity. She meets her boyfriend at the precinct. She comes clean about her involvement with the Green Arrow, and he's not happy at first, but says that she's doing it for a good cause, and then immediately goes into fanboy mode of her Green Arrow. I don't know, he just seems kind of fake to me. There's something off about him that I don't really like, and Thea's musical festival is a big hit, but Felicity pulls Oliver aside, says she found a big clue as to who Prometheus really is, and it turns out that Prometheus's throwing stars are made from Green Arrow's old arrows, which means that he has access to the police department's evidence locker, and as Felicity lays out her evidence, we see Lance. He wakes up in his apartment with a cut in his arm, and one of Prometheus's throwing stars in his desk, so the big question is, could Lance possibly be Prometheus, fundamentally changing everything we thought we knew about him, and that is the way this episode ends. Really great stuff overall. Let me just get into this episode and where I really think we're headed. So really some great stuff throughout this entire episode. I thought there were just some really strong scenes in particular, but let's talk about this theory with Lance, because I'm going to say right now, I don't think Lance is Prometheus. It's a bit of a stretch. It doesn't really go with his character, and I don't really know what his motive would be. Why would Lance be going after the list? Why would he be targeting Oliver? It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, unless he wants to get vengeance for Laurel, in which case he would become the most hated character on this entire show if he did that. So I don't think they're just going to ruin Lance's character like that. A lot of people hate Lance, and I don't really understand it. Yeah, he's a bit of a hard ass, but I don't really find him annoying. I think the actor's really good, and I think the actor makes it better than it is, but either way, I don't think Lance is Prometheus. I think that either Prometheus is framing Lance, and he's going to try to get Oliver to think it's Lance to distract Oliver from who it really is, or Lance does have some sort of connection with Kovar. And maybe it's all of what happened with him in Dark last season, with maybe something would happen between him and Prometheus. I don't really know, but I don't think that Lance is Prometheus. Who I do think is Prometheus is Kovar. I think setting up Kovar, introducing him in this episode, there's definitely a reason why things seem so similar to what's going on with that and then what's going on with Prometheus. I mean, these are two very merciless villains we definitely see. They're just killing people left and right, and Kovar has a lot of similarities to Prometheus. And you could say, oh, Kovar's nothing like Prometheus, but Prometheus is a voice changer, clearly. So definitely there's something going on there. There's some sort of connection between those two, and I don't really know what it is, but it just seems too much of a coincidence to be just that. There's definitely, I feel, more going on there, and I really think that we're headed to someplace where Kovar is going to end up being Prometheus. I think that's where we're headed, but I don't really know. Felicity telling her boyfriend about the Green Arrow, I don't know if this was the best thing to do. I get why she did it. I get why she told, Detective Malone, because she wanted him to know really what he was getting himself into and why she's always away all the time. And it does get away from some really petty drama the show could get into with, Felicity lying to her boyfriend, things like that. I wouldn't want a storyline like that. I don't think you guys want that either. So I'm glad to see the show is moving away from some of that nonsense that it had last season. Because, yeah, some of that did get a bit heavy-handed. I didn't think it was bad last season. I really, as you guys know, I like last season a lot more than Season 3. But I think the show's above that at this point. I don't think we need all this ridiculous, petty drama. And I like that she did come clean to her boyfriend. I just don't really care about him. There's nothing about this guy that's that interesting to me. There's nothing about him I really like, and I feel like that's because they're hiding something really big about him. They wouldn't keep showing him if he wasn't necessary to the plot, and definitely there's something going on with him. Or it could be Chase, for all we know. Chase is a character that's a main character. I don't know why he's a main character. He's in this show. He's in the, we know he's in the Star City, police whatever thing that Oliver has, the protecting police thing or whatever it's called. But that whole thing that he's in. But other than that, I don't really know why he's a main character, so maybe he could be Prometheus. I don't really know. I honestly don't know what Prometheus is. I do like seeing Oliver clash with his team and them making up. I think that overall was really well done. I like that Oliver did have to come clean and now they know what's going on. And the fact of the list, my biggest question is, if this is Prometheus, whoever's Prometheus, they had to have known Oliver for a while, because how else would they have had access to the list? How else would they have known about the list? Oliver has not been using the list since Season 1, so how did they have access to this list? What is the connection to the list? That's really what I want to know, and that's something I'm sure we're going to find out very soon. But either way, guys, most of you guys saw this episode, loved your thoughts. And also, with Lance, if Lance isn't, Prometheus, what exactly is going on with him? Is he going to get some help? Because if we go through this whole thing, we're just an alcoholic all season. I'm going to get annoyed if they do that. But either way, guys, really great episode overall. I really thought there were some very strong scenes in this episode, some great action, a really great villain, and just some really great build-up for where we're headed for the rest of the season. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. I don't know what my next review will be for the next episode. It might be. I don't know if I'll get to it tonight. But if it is, I will see you guys for that. If not, it will be for the season finale of American Horror Story Roanoke, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.